The boardroom fell silent. Not the respectful, anticipatory silence that preceded a brilliant presentation. No, this was the suffocating, gut-churning silence of 40 wealthy, powerful people who had just watched their CEO lose her composure in spectacular fashion. Ariadne Thorne stood at the head of the massive oak table, her knuckles white where they gripped the leather-bound portfolio. The quarterly projections were a disaster. The European expansion had hemorrhaged nearly $40 million. Her CFO, a weasel of a man named Prescott, had been embezzling for 2 years right under her nose, and she had just fired him in front of the entire board. The look on his face as security escorted him out was almost worth the humiliation. Almost. Is there anyone else in this room who would like to explain why our stock has dropped 17% in the last quarter? Her voice was ice. The same ice that had earned her the nickname, the Steel Orchid, on Wall Street. Beautiful. Untouchable. Deadly. No one spoke. Good. Then this meeting is adjourned. I expect revised projections on my desk by 8 tomorrow morning. If they're not there, I'll expect resignation letters instead. She swept out of the room, her Ferragamo heels clicking against the marble floor like a metronome of doom. The board members remained frozen in their seats, not daring to breathe until they heard the elevator doors close behind her. It was nearly midnight when Ariadne finally made it back to her office. The 57th floor of Thorne Tower was empty, the administrative assistants long gone, the cleaning crew having already made their rounds. The city sprawled beneath her, a glittering tapestry of lights and movement, but she didn't see any of it. All she saw was the mountain of work waiting on her desk, the endless emails, the damage control that would consume the next 72 hours of her life. She tossed her blazer onto the leather couch, kicked off her heels, and padded barefoot across the cold marble floor. The familiar ache settled into her shoulders, the one that had taken up permanent residence there about 3 years ago, right around the time she'd realized she was utterly, devastatingly alone. 34 years old. The CEO of one of the most powerful conglomerates in the country. A net worth that made the GDP of small nations look like pocket change. And what did she have to show for it? An empty penthouse. An empty bed. An empty heart. She sighed, collapsing into her ergonomic chair, and reached for the first file on the stack. Something crinkled beneath her hand. Frowning, she pulled out the stack of papers and found a little girl. No, wait. That couldn't be right. She blinked, certain her exhaustion was playing tricks on her. But no. There, curled up in the corner of her massive mahogany desk, nestled among a lifetime of business documents, was a child. A small, impossibly tiny child, fast asleep with her thumb in her mouth and a ragged teddy bear clutched to her chest. Ariadne's brain short-circuited. For a full 30 seconds, she simply stared. The little girl couldn't have been more than 4 years old. She had a riot of dark curls piled messily on top of her head, a smudge of what looked like chocolate on her cheek, and pajamas covered in cartoon dinosaurs. Her tiny chest rose and fell with the peaceful rhythm of deep sleep, completely oblivious to the fact that she had somehow infiltrated the inner sanctum of one of the most powerful women in the country. What in the name of all that was holy? Hello? Ariadne said, her voice coming out as a croak. She cleared her throat. Little girl? Excuse me? The child stirred, her small face scrunching up in protest at being disturbed. She made a soft whining sound, burrowed deeper into the files, and settled back to sleep. Ariadne had no idea what to do. She had faced down hostile takeovers, navigated financial crises, and crushed competitors without breaking a sweat. But a sleeping child on her desk? That was uncharted territory. The kind of territory that required manuals she definitely did not own. She reached out, hesitated, and gently touched the child's shoulder. Wake up, sweetheart. You can't sleep here. The little girl's eyes fluttered open. They were the most extraordinary shade of green Ariadne had ever seen, like sea glass catching the light. For a moment, the child simply stared at her, blinking sleepily. Then her face split into a brilliant, gap-toothed smile. "Hi," she said, as if finding a strange woman in a dark office was the most natural thing in the world. "Are you the boss lady?" Yes," Ariadne managed. "I'm the CEO. Why are you sleeping on my desk?" "My daddy works here," the little girl announced proudly. "He builds the stories. The numbers ones. He's really good at it." Ariadne's mind raced through the employee roster. Builds the stories? Could she mean the marketing department? Or possibly data analysis? "What's your daddy's name?" "Declan," the girl said, her voice filled with adoration. "Declan Hart. He's the best daddy in the whole world." The name didn't ring a bell, but Thorn Industries employed nearly 5,000 people. Ariadne couldn't possibly know all of them. "How did you get up here, sweetheart?" "This is the 57th floor." The little girl looked vaguely guilty. "I was supposed to wait in the lobby. But I got bored. And then the elevator opened. And I pressed the button with the biggest number. And then I found your office. It has the comfiest chair." "Where's your daddy now?" "He's working." The girl said it with a certain resignation, as if this was a familiar refrain. "He's always working. But he promised he'd take me to the dinosaur museum tomorrow." "He promised." Ariadne's heart twisted uncomfortably. She knew that promise. She'd made it herself, countless times, to people who had eventually stopped believing her. Her parents. Her college friends. The string of men she'd dated and then abandoned when they demanded more time than she could give. "What's your name?" she asked softly. "Willow." The girl tucked her teddy bear under her arm and sat up a little straighter. "Willow Hart. I'm 4 3/4. "That's very specific," Ariadne said, a small smile tugging at her lips. "My daddy says it's important to be specific. Especially with numbers." "Well, Willow, it's very late. I think we need to find your daddy and get you home." Willow shook her head vigorously. "No, I can't leave. I'm waiting for him to finish. He said he'd come get me when he was done." "When did he say that?" The little girl scrunched up her face, thinking. "A long time ago. The sun was still up." Ariadne glanced at her watch. Midnight. The child had been waiting for hours. Something hot and angry flared in her chest, directed at this invisible Declan Hart, this father who had apparently abandoned his daughter in a corporate lobby while he worked late. She reached for her phone, prepared to call security and have them track down this negligent parent. But just as her fingers touched the screen, Willow's small hand landed on her arm. "Don't be mad at him," the little girl said, her voice suddenly wise beyond her years. "He's sad. He's always sad since Mommy went away. But he's a good daddy. The best daddy. He just forgets the time sometimes." Ariadne's anger evaporated, replaced by something far more complicated. She knelt down so she was at eye level with the child. "Where did your mommy go?" "She went to heaven," Willow said matter-of-factly. "She got sick. Very sick. And the doctors couldn't fix her. But she said I was her sunshine, and she'd always watch me from the stars." Ariadne blinked rapidly, fighting back the sudden sting in her eyes. That's very beautiful, Willow. Your mommy sounds like she loved you very much." "She did." Willow nodded emphatically. "She loved my daddy too. She said he had the biggest heart of anyone she ever knew. That's why I named my teddy bear after him. This is Declan Jr." The bear, Ariadne noticed, was well loved. Patches had been sewn onto its threadbare fur, and one of its button eyes was missing. It was clearly a comfort object, a tangible connection to the mother who had taught this little girl how to love. "Willow," Ariadne said gently, "how about I get you a snack while we wait for your daddy? My assistant keeps a stash of crackers in the break room." "I'm not supposed to take food from strangers," Willow said, her expression turning serious. "My daddy says that's a very important rule." Ariadne smiled, genuinely this time. "That's a very smart rule. But I'm not a stranger. I'm the boss lady, remember? And boss ladies are allowed to give snacks." Willow considered this logic, her brow furrowed in deep concentration. "Okay," she finally agreed. "But only if you have the goldfish crackers. Those are my favorite." As it happened, Ariadne did have goldfish crackers. She kept them for late-night meetings when her executive team needed a sugar boost to stay awake. She led Willow to the small kitchenette attached to her office, helped her climb up onto one of the tall stools, and produced the coveted snack with a flourish. "You're a good boss lady," Willow said, cramming a handful of crackers into her mouth. "You're the nicest one I've met." "Thank you, Willow. That means a lot. My daddy says you're scary, though." Ariadne nearly choked. "He said that? He says you're very smart. And very powerful. And very scary. But he says that in a good way. Like a lion. Lions are scary, but they're also beautiful." Ariadne didn't know whether to be offended or flattered. "Your daddy sounds like an interesting man." "He is." Willow's face lit up. "He makes the best pancakes. And he can build anything. Once he built me a castle out of cardboard boxes. It was taller than me." "A cardboard castle? That's impressive." "It was, wasn't it?" Willow beamed. "I wish you could meet him. I think you'd like him. He's very handsome. That's what the ladies at the grocery store say." Ariadne laughed, a genuine sound that surprised her. When was the last time she had laughed like this? She couldn't remember. Probably before she'd become the steel orchid, before she'd learned that vulnerability was weakness and weakness was death. Just then, there was a commotion in the hallway. Running footsteps. A voice calling out in obvious panic, "Willow! Willow, where are you?" The little girl's face transformed. "Daddy!" She scrambled off the stool, nearly sending the goldfish crackers flying, and raced toward the door. Ariadne followed, her heart suddenly pounding for reasons she couldn't explain. And then she saw him. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders and dark hair that was disheveled as if he'd been running his hands through it. His eyes were wild with fear, scanning the corridor frantically. He was wearing a rumpled button-down shirt, the sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms, and a pair of glasses perched crookedly on his nose. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Daddy!" Willow launched herself at him, and he caught her, pulling her into his arms and holding her so tightly Ariadne could see his muscles trembling. "Willow, baby, I was so worried. I turned around and you were gone. I searched the entire floor. I thought," his voice broke. "I thought something terrible had happened. I'm okay, Daddy. I met the boss lady. She gave me goldfish." Declan's head snapped up, his eyes finally landing on Ariadne. Recognition dawned, followed by something that looked suspiciously like terror. "Miss Thorne." He straightened, still holding Willow, his face draining of color. "I am so sorry. I never," she must have wandered off when I was reviewing the quarterly projections. "I brought her in because the babysitter canceled at the last minute and I had no one else to watch her. I thought she'd be safe in my office. I only stepped away for a moment." "Mr. Hart." Ariadne held up a hand, cutting him off. "Slow down. Breathe." He blinked at her, his chest still heaving. "I don't, she's not supposed to be here." I broke so many company policies. I understand if you want to fire me. I completely understand. I'm not going to fire you. You're not. Would you like to sit down before you pass out? He stared at her for a long moment, then seemed to sag with relief. Yes. Yes, I think I would. They retreated back into Ariadne's office, where Declan collapsed onto the leather couch with Willow still perched in his lap. She was chattering away about the goldfish crackers and the teddy bear and how nice the boss lady was, utterly oblivious to the drama she had caused. Declan listened, nodding absently, his hand stroking her dark curls. Ariadne watched them, something shifting in her chest. The way he held his daughter, with such fierce tenderness. The way Willow nestled into him, completely secure in his love. It was beautiful. It was heartbreaking. It was everything she'd never had. I'm really sorry, Ms. Thorne, Declan said again, his voice quieter now. I know this is completely unprofessional. I should have found another solution. I didn't have anyone else. Her grandmother is in Florida. The emergency contacts I had all fell through. I was desperate. How long have you worked here, Mr. Hart? Almost 2 years. I'm in the financial analysis department. I do the projections, the risk assessments, I know what you do, Ariadne interrupted, not unkindly. I read all my employees' files. You have an exceptional track record. Your quarterly reports are some of the most thorough I've ever seen. The compliment seemed to take him off guard. Thank you. I take my work seriously. Clearly. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. How often does this happen? The childcare situation? Declan's jaw tightened. More often than I'd like. I try to arrange coverage, but with the late nights and the budget cuts. I'm on my own. Her mother passed away 2 years ago. Cancer. It's just been the two of us since. I'm sorry. Willow told me. His eyes widened. She told you about Sarah? Just that she went to heaven. And that you have the biggest heart of anyone she's ever known. Declan's eyes grew bright with unshed tears. She said that? Her exact words. She seems to think very highly of you. He looked down at his daughter, who was now fast asleep again, her small face pressed against his chest. She's the only reason I get up in the morning. The only reason I keep going. If anything ever happened to her. Nothing happened, Ariadne said firmly. She's safe. She's here. And she's clearly very loved. A heavy silence fell between them. Ariadne found herself studying Declan Hart with a new, strange curiosity. He was handsome, yes. That much was obvious. But there was something else, something deeper. A vulnerability he couldn't quite hide behind his professional facade. A tenderness that seemed to radiate from him like warmth from a fire. You know, Ariadne said slowly, Thorne Industries has a childcare program. It's not heavily publicized, but it exists. We have a facility on the ground floor, staffed with licensed caregivers. Employees with dependent children are entitled to use it during working hours. It's listed in the benefits package. Declan stared at her. I didn't know that. Most people don't. HR buried it in the fine print. But I think we should make it more visible. I think we should make a lot of things more visible. What are you saying? I'm saying that if you'd like, you can bring Willow to work with you. She can stay in the childcare center while you're working. You'd be able to check on her whenever you need to. It would be safe. It would be reliable. Declan's expression shifted through a dozen emotions in the span of a few seconds. Surprise. Disbelief. Hope. Gratitude so profound it made his voice crack when he finally spoke. I don't know what to say. That's incredibly generous. I can't thank you enough. Don't thank me yet. I'm going to make some changes. A lot of changes. And I'm going to need help implementing them. Help? What kind of help? Ariadne took a breath. This was insane. She was a CEO, not a social worker. She had no business getting personally involved in the lives of her employees. But something about Declan and Willow had cracked open a door she'd kept firmly shut for years. Something about the way he held his daughter made her want to be better. I'd like you to help me revamp the work culture at Thorn Industries, she said. I've been running this company like a machine for too long. I've forgotten that the people who work here aren't cogs. They have lives. Families. Children who need them. I want to change that. But I can't do it alone. Declan looked at her like she'd just offered him the moon. You want me to help you change company culture? I want you to help me create a place where people don't have to choose between their careers and their children. A place where a single father doesn't have to worry about losing his job because his daughter wandered into the CEO's office. He laughed, a sound of pure, disbelieving joy. I can't believe this is happening. I spent the last 2 years thinking you were this untouchable, unapproachable figure. The steel orchid. And now you realize I'm just a woman who doesn't know how to stop working long enough to remember what's important. It's not too late to learn, Declan said softly. It's never too late. Ariadne looked at him, at the sleepy child in his arms, and felt something shift in her soul. It was terrifying and exhilarating and completely unexpected. Will you come back tomorrow? She asked. With Willow? I'd like to show you the childcare center. I'd like to start making some changes. We'll be there. Declan stood, shifting Willow's weight carefully. Thank you, Miss Thorne. Thank you for being kind to my daughter. Thank you for giving me a chance. Please, she said, surprising herself. Call me Ariadne. He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. Thank you, Ariadne. And then he was gone, carrying his sleeping daughter out of her office and into the night, leaving Ariadne alone with her thoughts and the strange, fluttering feeling in her chest. She didn't sleep that night. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Declan's face. Heard Willow's voice. Felt the ghost of a connection she'd never expected to find. The next morning, she called HR. I need a complete breakdown of our employee benefits. Specifically, anything related to childcare. And I need it in the next hour. Yes, Ms. Thorne. Right away. By the time Declan arrived at 10, Willow in tow, Ariadne had already met with the heads of every major department. She had mapped out a comprehensive overhaul of the company's work-life balance policies. She had authorized the expansion of the childcare center. She had approved flexible scheduling for all employees with dependent children. And she had cancelled her afternoon meetings. I'm taking a personal day, she told her stunned assistant. If anyone needs me, they can email. I'll respond tomorrow. Ms. Thorne, you never take personal days. You barely take lunch breaks. Then it's about time I started. She found Declan and Willow in the childcare center, the little girl already happily engaged with a group of other children. Declan was watching her with a soft, grateful expression that made Ariadne's heart ache. Hey, she said, approaching him. Everything okay? He turned, and the smile that spread across his face was like sunrise. Everything's perfect. She's already made 3 friends. One of them is named Oliver. They're planning a kingdom with blocks. Good. That's good. Ariadne hesitated. I was wondering, would you like to get coffee? My treat. There's a cafe around the corner. We could talk about the changes I'm planning. I'd like that very much. They walked to the cafe together, the morning sun warm on their faces. It was unseasonably beautiful for November, as if the weather itself was conspiring to make the day perfect. Ariadne ordered a cappuccino. Declan ordered a chai latte with an extra shot of vanilla. "What?" he asked, catching her amused expression. "It's my weakness. I'm not judging. I'm just surprised. I pegged you for a black coffee kind of guy. I am, mostly. But the chai reminds me of my wife. She used to drink it every morning. It's a small way of keeping her close." Ariadne's throat tightened. "That's beautiful, Declan. You loved her very much." "I did. I still do. I always will." He looked down at his cup. "But I'm learning that love doesn't have to end. It can change shape. It can grow. It can make room for new people." "New people?" Ariadne's pulse quickened. He met her eyes. "Yeah. New people." The next few months were a whirlwind of change and discovery. Ariadne implemented sweeping policy reforms that made Thorne Industries a model for work-life balance. The childcare center became the envy of the corporate world. Flexible scheduling was adopted company-wide. She even initiated a mentorship program for parents struggling to manage work and family. And Declan was by her side every step of the way. They spent countless hours together, sometimes in meetings, sometimes in the childcare center watching Willow build block castles with her new friends, sometimes in the cafe talking about everything and nothing. He told her about Sarah, about the long, painful year of her illness, about the desperate grief that had consumed him after she died. She told him about her own childhood, the cold, distant parents who had never loved her enough, the suffocating loneliness of a life built entirely on ambition. "You didn't choose this," he told her one evening, as they watched the sunset from her office window. "The distance, I mean. The walls you've built. You built them because you had to. Because it was the only way to survive. Does that make it okay? The way I've treated people? The way I've pushed everyone away? It makes it understandable. And it makes it changeable. Because you see it now. You're already changing." She reached out and took his hand. "I don't want to be alone anymore, Declan. I've been alone my whole life, and I'm so tired of it." He squeezed her fingers, his eyes warm. "You don't have to be. You'll never have to be alone again." It was Willow who made the final breakthrough. It happened on a Saturday afternoon, at the park. The three of them were there together. Ariadne, Declan, and the little girl who had somehow become the center of both their worlds. Willow was on the swings, her dark curls flying as she kicked her legs higher and higher. "Push me higher, Auntie Ari," she shrieked. "Higher." Ariadne laughed, giving the swing a gentle shove. "You're going to fly all the way to the moon at this rate." "I want to go to the moon," Willow declared. "I'm going to be an astronaut when I grow up. And I'm going to bring you and Daddy with me." "That sounds amazing, sweetheart." Ariadne felt tears prick her eyes. "I would love to go to the moon with you." After a while, Willow grew tired of swinging and raced off to the climbing structure, her giggles echoing across the park. Declan moved closer to Ariadne, their shoulders brushing. "She loves you, you know," he said quietly. "I've never seen her take to anyone like this. Not since Sarah." "I love her too," Ariadne admitted. "More than I ever thought possible. She's like this little ray of sunshine I didn't know I needed." That's exactly what Sarah used to call her. Her little ray of sunshine. Ariadne turned to look at him. "Do you think Sarah would have liked me?" "I know that's a strange question, but I find myself wondering. I find myself hoping she would have understood." Declan was quiet for a moment. "I think she would have loved you. Because you love Willow. Because you've made me happy again. That's all she ever wanted for us. For us to be happy. Are you happy, Declan? He looked at her, his eyes so full of emotion it made her breath catch. I'm happier than I've been in years. Because of you. Because you walked into my life and changed everything. I didn't walk into your life. Willow walked into mine. That's the miracle of it, he said softly. She found you. She knew, somehow, that you were the one. The missing piece of our family. Ariadne's heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you, Ariadne. I've loved you since the moment I saw you holding my daughter, giving her goldfish crackers like it was the most natural thing in the world. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. If you'll have us. She whispered. You mean you and Willow. We're a package deal. I come with a tiny, bossy sidekick who will probably demand to be the flower girl at our wedding. A sob escaped her throat. You want to marry me? More than anything. He took both her hands in his. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I've never been more sure of anything in my life. You're it for me, Ariadne. You're the one. And in that moment, standing in the park with the autumn leaves falling around them and Willow's laughter ringing in the air, Ariadne knew he was right. This was it. This was the family she'd always dreamed of, the love she'd always craved. Yes, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yes, I'll marry you. I'll marry you and spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you. Of both of you. Declan pulled her into his arms, kissing her with all the tenderness and passion he possessed. It was the kiss she'd been waiting for her entire life, the one that made her feel seen, cherished, whole. Daddy. Auntie Ari. Willow's voice interrupted them, high and indignant. Are you kissing? That's so gross. They pulled apart, laughing. Declan scooped up his daughter, spinning her around until she shrieked with delight. What do you think, Willow? He asked, setting her down. Would you like Auntie Ari to be our family? Willow's face split into the widest grin imaginable. For real? Like a real family? Like she'd be my new mommy? That's right, baby. She'd be your new mommy. Yes. Willow threw her arms around Ariadne's legs. Yes, yes, yes. I knew it. I knew you were special. I knew you were our person. Ariadne knelt down and hugged the little girl tight, tears still falling. I love you, Willow. I love you so much. I love you too, Auntie Ari. I love you even more than goldfish crackers. That's a lot, Declan said, grinning. That's the highest honor she can bestow. The wedding was held 3 months later. It was a small affair, intimate and warm, with just close friends and the most important people in their lives. Willow was indeed the flower girl, and she took her job very seriously, scattering petals with military precision. Ariadne wore a simple white dress. Declan wore a suit that actually fit. When they said their vows, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. I thought I had everything, Ariadne said, looking into Declan's eyes. I had money. I had power. I had success. But I was empty. I was lonely. And then a little girl fell asleep on my desk, and everything changed. You showed me what love really means. Willow showed me what family really means. You both showed me that I could be more. That I could be better. That I could be whole. Declan squeezed her hands. And I thought I'd lost everything. I thought I'd never love again. I thought I'd be a single father forever, scraping by, just trying to survive. But Willow knew. She knew you were our missing piece. She knew you'd find us. She's the smartest person I know. Hey! Willow yelled from her spot near the altar. I heard that. Everyone laughed. It was perfect. 6 years later, Ariadne Thornhart sat in the same office where it all began. But now the walls were covered in family photos, Declan, Willow, and their newest addition, a baby boy named Theo. The childcare center had expanded to 3 floors. The company had never been more profitable. And Ariadne had never been happier. Her phone buzzed. A text from Declan. Ready to head to the park. Willow's science fair project is in the car. Theo is trying to eat it. I need backup. She smiled, the warm, genuine smile that had become her signature over the years. The steel orchid had bloomed into something softer, something richer, something infinitely more beautiful. On my way, she typed back. Tell Willow I'm bringing the goldfish crackers. She slipped on her heels, grabbed her blazer, and walked out of her office. The sun was shining through the windows, casting everything in a warm, golden glow. The elevator hummed as it carried her down to the ground floor, where her family was waiting. As she stepped out, she saw them. Declan with Theo on his shoulders, Willow holding up her science fair project, a model of the solar system, with little paper stars marking where Sarah might be watching from. Mama! Theo shrieked, reaching for her. Mama! Willow echoed, running toward her. Ariadne caught them both in her arms, laughing, crying, overflowing with a joy she'd never known was possible. Declan joined them, wrapping his arms around his whole family. Look at us, he murmured. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Ariadne agreed. A little girl sleeping on a desk. A single father trying to survive. A CEO who'd forgotten what mattered most. Sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places. Ariadne looked at her husband, her children, her beautiful, chaotic, wonderful family, and felt her heart swell with gratitude. Sometimes, she said, the best things come when you least expect them. And when they do, you hold on and never let go. The sun continued to shine. The birds sang on. And the Thornhart family walked into the park, ready for the next adventure, together.